What's up, everybody? It's the 4th and Goal broadcast tonight. We got Rob with us tonight, good buddy. He's also a Cleveland Brown fan. So I'm actually really excited about this because about time I got somebody out of the NFC side, and we got to the AFC side. So
sorry that I'm the sorry of all team representatives. Hey, at least you don't have a Jets fan right now. There you go.
Jets, believe it or not, Jets are one of the teams I really want to get on here. So if
I believe
there's a
that
Jet
with all
fan
the
watching right now, please do me a favor and hit me up.
Please actively send representatives mail that says keep Rodgers away. You don't want him. That's no fun to have in the AFC. Signed a concerned Browns fan. Anyway.
So you wouldn't mind seeing how Rodgers would do in the AFC? Because I'm kind of curious because this dude's trying to get a Super Bowl right before he goes out.
My biggest thing about it is the AFC climate is already so tangled. Like there is an absolute possibility that aside from maybe the Chiefs and I would say the Chiefs and probably the Bills, they're always consistent. Every other division will have an absolute dogfight. And when I say dogfight, I mean Miami's coming, Baltimore's in turmoil, Bengals, Browns, Steelers can never be counted out. I mean, look at the entire AFC side has dogs. Now, mind you, Denver hopefully gets it together because I feel bad for the Denver fans right now.
I don't feel bad for them that much because to me, I think they got rid of the problem.
Yeah,
that's just me personally speaking. I think God, what's his name? I know who it is. Sean Payton. I think Sean Payton's going to get there, and you're going to see the real Russell Wilson back.
Oh no, I mean from last year, I felt bad for him.
Oh, for sure.
Was not. I feel bad. Like I can't stand some teams how they act like they're fans, but like I feel genuinely bad for Broncos fans because it's one of those things where, as a Browns fan, I've seen time and time again where it's like, oh my God, we got this amazing player who can't football.
Yeah.
Like they forgot how to football, and you're like, okay, wait a minute. I've watched you dismantle my franchise time and time again. How are you not producing at an amateur level? And I felt bad for Russ because I'm like, dude, you are not this bad.
No, he's really not.
Like
that's what people like, it was kind of crazy to see people talk so much shit on Russell Wilson over 1 year. I'm like, this is the first year this dude's been this shitty. Like,
well, that's like I've had plenty of arguments with fans about Deshaun Watson. I don't care how you feel about what he did, because obviously as a girl dad, not excited about the rap sheet that he developed. We've already talked about this.
Yes.
Whatever. Outside of that, he was found innocent. I'm like, okay, fine. Clearly nothing stuck. There was nothing. Okay, whatever. What are you bringing to my team? And I think a lot of people expected him to come in and freaking take over the league in his last couple games. I'm like, dude, this man hasn't thrown a pass for a professional franchise in 3 years. Like, practice is not the game.
No.
And I think that chemistry is huge in the NFL, especially nowadays. You don't have a rapport with people. The best receivers out here have been together for 4 or 5 years with their QB.
Oh, totally. That's one of the things that was very surprising to me for the Browns to even make that move, and especially with now you got you guys are basically responsible. And I'm not trying to put this all on you
for the QB market?
Pretty much. And you guys are responsible for what's happening in Baltimore right now.
Oh, I called it. I said, I'm so glad you brought this up. The moment that contract was created, I said they are either going to be crazy fathermuckers who are going to be like live in infamy for their stupidity, or we are going to drive the market so severely crazy jacked up that the only people that will be able to afford all-star caliber or higher, and I do say like all-star, Pro Bowl, whatever, Pro Bowl caliber quarterbacks or higher is if either A, you have insane draft capital, or B, you have so much money that you don't know what to do with it. You better be Scrooge McDuck up in here if you want to get a QB that's already established.
Yeah.
There's no, you're not adding a Russell Wilson or a Tua Tagovailoa or a Lamar Jackson for a couple of picks and some compensation. You're not getting them for $120 million for 3 years. No chance. Lamar Jackson's out here wanting what, 200 million, 5 years guaranteed or something?
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, he's crazy. Why is he crazy if Watson got it? The proof is right there. If a team is either, now I will preface this with, I think it's absolutely insane what the Browns did. No doubt about it. I am not saying that I'm for it or against it. I think it's wild. But
wild.
They did do something while they had a bunch of money that will have ripples across the league for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. See, I feel like it a lot because we've always had conversations ever since you became a part of the Renegades back in the house. And I've always loved talking football because I feel like me and you, we can always relate. We've all, let's not be let's just let the cat out of the bag. The Lions have been, bottom of the NFC for years. Yeah, and the bad
Browns
history.
The same. Yep.
The Browns the same.
Same.
So I feel like, Detroit went out, and got the right guys and finally
for sure
said, teach me how you build a team the correct way instead of paying ridiculous money to try to be good.
Right.
But I feel like the Browns, and I'm just going to say this, I don't really think the players the last few seasons have been on the Browns, really. It's not the players. It's the damn coaches.
Well, but here's the thing.
Go ahead.
But with that, just before you transition, because I know you're going to have amazing points, my biggest thing about this is this. Stefanski is a quarterback-minded coach. And I will say that I prefer him in that role of, okay, let me make sure my quarterback and offense blend. That's what he should be doing. But you don't have the offensive or defensive coordinators to do anything. He was trying to take on the entire coaching menagerie versus having reliable pieces in there. Whereas where you have a Dan Campbell who, okay, you're going to do your job or I'm kicking your ass out. Stefanski isn't that way. Stefanski's like, oh, okay, man, that wasn't a very good effort. It's on me. It's on me. It's like, no, listen. If you're not going to do your job, get out. And a lot of people in Cleveland hate that. And I'll be one of them to say, coaching, like keep my head coach and GM if they're doing their job decently. But
go ahead.
But like with the coordinator positions, if the offense is sputtering, you're not doing your job. If the defense is giving up a whole bunch of points, you're not doing your job. It falls on the coordinators at the end of the day to get one side or the other. The special teams coordinator was one of my favorites. He won us our first playoff game in years, and they let him go shortly after Woods. I'm like, wait a minute, what? Hold up.
Yeah, I mean, see, to me, this is how I look at it. If you remember when OBJ came, Landry, when you guys had all those guys in Baker's like rookie year, I thought, now mind you, I didn't expect you guys to go to a Super Bowl with a rookie QB.
Of course not.
Means. No. But I thought you guys would have gradually got there, and it never happened. And I don't think Baker's a complete trash QB.
Well, to
I
be fair, if it weren't for a cheap shot from Daniel Sorensen, the Chiefs would have lost that flipping game.
yeah.
All I'm saying. And I know
Um,
that I sound petty as shit holding on to that so tightly, but that man looked like a human torpedo. You can't tell me that wasn't targeting on the head of Higgins.
yeah, I recall that
Ugh,
play.
God.
But it's like you guys should have been a better team that whole time with
Yes.
that team assembled. I mean, you had when Beckham Jr. I remember when Beckham Jr. went to LA, people were literally talking, can he still play?
That's
Because he's
wild.
been in Cleveland for so long, and it was like OBJ went from this big superstar to who the fuck is OBJ?
Right.
And then you get OBJ in LA, and the dude's catching balls and looking like his old self again. And it's just like, is
The
this the
last
reason why Cleveland couldn't do nothing? Is because they don't
the
know how to call
last
the plays?
the last game that OBJ played with us, there were 3 opportunities that Mayfield threw straight at OBJ. And I mean good, solid passes. I'll be the first one to say if they were terrible. He dropped a 4th and 2, which was in his hands, man. Wasn't overthrown, literally thrown right where he could get it in a tight window right to his hands. Failed. Then he was running, looked up, saw that the ball was in the air, and then never jumped. There were so many times that OBJ, now mind you, OBJ is a great player. He's been one of my favorites. But the effort to, when you are playing for a QB you care about, a la, let's just say Megatron with Stafford or somebody else, you see the rapport, your receiver is going to do everything and anything they can to get that ball. You
Yeah,
can tell when the chemistry is shot. They had none. And when Odell Beckham was relegated to second option behind Jarvis Landry, and then he realized that Stefanski wanted to run tight ends more with Njoku and Hooper, he was pissed. He became a 5th option with Donovan Peoples-Jones emerging.
yeah. And I was literally glad I was kind of nervous for him to go because he's a Michigan boy. So, I do
Right?
follow him. I
Sure.
do try to follow every Michigan product that goes in the NFL to see how they're doing. And I was actually really glad to see Peoples Jones Jr. Or is he a
Donovan
junior?
People. Nope, it's Donovan People-Jones.
I always want to call him junior for
DPJ.
some reason, but
Because it's DPJ. The J is usually like
yeah,
junior.
that's
I
always gets
got
me
you.
all the time. So I was actually really excited. I was actually really excited to see that he actually had a couple of big games for you guys last year.
Well,
Um,
what makes me happy about Donovan Peoples is that he's a big body receiver, and you don't see a lot of good big body receivers anymore. You're kind of aimed towards the speedsters. If you look at the shift in receivers, they want fast, skinny guys who aren't going to be touched. They want fast,
yeah,
skinny guys. Outside of your tight ends, you don't see a lot of big body receivers that are going to catch the ball, turn up, and make a couple people regret hitting them. You
exactly.
just don't.
Um, so I'm actually so before we get into who you picked up and who you lost this year,
Yeah.
now going into this year, do you expect to see Deshaun Watson on an elite level, or or how do you think that's going to work out for you?
All right, so I'll give you 2 answers. I'm going to give you the homer answer that I want to give to everybody, and then I'll give you the all right, but reality check time answer.
Okay.
The homer answer, for what we paid, this month could better be the second coming of Brett Favre. But anyway, with the receiving core that he has, especially with us having picked up Elijah Moore, you got your top 2 receivers in Amari Cooper and Donovan Peoples-Jones. We have all the elements surrounding him that the passing game should be a true something to fear in Cleveland. you can't shut down Amari Cooper and David Njoku and be fine.
Yeah.
You don't have the option. Like, let's be honest. Last year, if the ball was aimed towards Schwartz, people laughed.
Yeah.
If you have a quick enough linebacker, you can cover Donovan People-Jones. Amari Cooper is the one that you're like, oh shit, who can we put on him? That was your number one corner coverage. But now your safeties are going to have to help out with another tight end and a true deep threat in Elijah Moore. Those two are going to be huge. If they can get into the center field, get deep into zones and utilize the middle of the field where Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples, and David Njoku like to be deep threats, you catch it in space and take off running, it's going to be a totally different option.
Yeah.
Not to mention Nick Chubb being run down their throats. And there's a lot of talk that Kareem Hunt isn't able to find a decent destination. And if you're Cleveland, you're like, hey, I know that we haven't been doing particularly well working you in, but I'm sorry. I love Nick Chubb as he is by far my favorite Brown.
But to be honest, I think Chubb is a little bit gets the little underrated value.
I love it so much because I sit here, I'm like, now wait a minute. King Henry versus Chubb, the comparisons in game is disgusting. And it's not obviously Chubb versus, Henry, but like when they square off, Henry doesn't do anything against our Browns team, but Chubb gashes them every time. Yeah. And I think it's funny for Chubb to be like, oh, okay, we're playing another stud. All right, let's roll. He's not intimidated the slightest, which Nick Chubb embodies, and I will say this about Detroit as well. He embodies that Detroit-Cleveland spirit of, you don't have to like me. My name ain't up in lights, but you're going to see stars by the end of this, and you're going to regret going against me. Yeah. It's that blue-collar, ass-kicking mentality that I love.
Oh, I love watching Chubb run.
Oh, my God.
And I always try to get him in fantasy just because the dude's been a beast. And I just feel like, being a Lions fan, we've had stars, other than Megatron and Sanders. They're the only true stars I feel like got the really national attention.
Right.
24/7. It was just because
I'm still mad they slept on Stafford while he was with you guys. Yeah. I love Detroit Stafford, man.
It was, even Stafford through the years, even though there were some key games that I could go back to and playoff games and point out where Stafford cost us a game, where even Kelvin cost us a game, you know. But Stafford, for the most part, he won us a lot of games, and I feel like a lot of fans, because if you're a Lions fan, you sit on the radio and you listen to them talk when Stafford was here, you would hear the most craziest phone calls ever come in. Always bitching about Stafford. So it's like he never got the national attention, or he never got the national attention, or he didn't even get a good enough attention from a lot of the fans, because everybody just wants to blame a quarterback because you're losing games. And it's like the dude put up 30 points. The defense let 42 points.
I think my favorite anachronism of what you just said is Baker versus the LA Chargers.
Yeah.
When he put up 43 flipping points and we lost 45-43.
I know. He gave me so
much. And people are like, oh my God, that damn Baker. What? He threw for 4 touchdowns, 500 yards.
And he didn't even know the playbook.
What are you talking about?
Like, that's pretty impressive that the dude didn't even know the playbook. And to me, I'm excited to see him in Tampa Bay.
Oh, me too.
Because I think you might actually see a whole different quarterback.
Still. Yeah, me and my wife are still huge Baker fans.
Because when he went out to LA, at the point, I'm like, dude, the Browns just fucked another quarterback up. That's my original thought. And I don't mean that with any disrespect. I was like, Baker's gonna go down on the jersey of another quarterback. And he goes to LA and has that game, and it really made me sit back and think, like, maybe Baker is not screwed. Maybe Cleveland just didn't know how to call play calls like I've been thinking the whole time.
What I think the biggest problem with Baker was when he got injured initially, tore his labrum, did all that shit to his shoulder. He didn't want to stop playing. And my biggest problem is this. As a quarterback, you have a rhythm. You have a method. You have a continual, I don't want to say like continual, like you have a set pace that you like to go.
Yeah.
And your mechanics, when you're a passer like Baker Mayfield, he is pinpoint accuracy. And the biggest issue I have with that was Kevin Stefanski should have looked and been like, you know what? I respect your heart. I respect your desire to play. But I don't need you getting more hurt by playing through this. Let's give you a couple weeks, relax, get that shoulder taken care of. Case is more than capable backup. He has a lot of weapons out here. Let's see what happens. If he goes out there and we lose 3 straight with Case, nobody's going to bat an eye.
Exactly.
And if we go out there and win 3 with him, no one's going to bat an eye and say, oh, Case is better than him. It's a win-win if you get him the rest and relaxation. He fought through, was given a velvet rope, and hung himself with it.
Yeah. Every quarterback wants to play. I mean, look at Stafford.
Exactly.
Yep. Not the last year with Patricia, but the year before, Stafford fractured his back and finished the whole season on a fractured back. And then he fractured the same back again in the last year in Detroit, and then tried to play, and then, petition them, shut him down, which probably was the best because he had back-to-back same injuries. And then, he goes to LA, and it was like a whole different. Now everybody loves, Stafford. And what sucks for me is I couldn't even root for Stafford in the Super Bowl.
I know.
And it wasn't that I hate it, because at the end of the day, I was happy he got it.
Sure.
What made me really start like, okay, I can't root for this guy, is because all the Lions fans were in every Lions group. They were selling shirts, for crying out loud, called the Detroit Rams.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, are we freaking serious?
No.
We're going to piggyback. I mean, I'm not saying not root for the guy in the Super Bowl, but the whole season you're talking shit about your own team actually doing a full-blown rebuild the correct way, and then you're bailing the shit, and then all of a sudden they're all back this year, and then they're all talking shit again, and then bam, we go and we finish the season. Now everybody's talking all lines, but they're still on the stupid crap. They're still talking that we need Lamar Jackson. So, I feel like Cleveland Browns, and we relate so much. That's why I've been so excited for this episode, is because I feel like you deal with a lot of this shit yourself.
Yep.
As a Browns fan.
Because the Cleveland Clowns, not even the Browns, sir.
It's honestly because I think both of our fan bases are really desperate to see wins. And they just can't sit there and wait just a little bit longer to do it.
So what's wild about Cleveland is we have an incredible baseball team. We have a very good basketball team. But I guarantee you, if you asked 90% of our Cleveland sports fan base if they would trade both of those teams for a successful season in Cleveland, they would literally sell them flipping franchises for a Browns Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's wild.
We've been spoiled with the Pistons. Pistons got 3 back-to-backs in the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
2004, we won another one. And then we went to, I want to say, at least 2 more finals to 3. But unfortunately, we lost both of those to San Antonio twice.
San Antonio, though, man, you got to give them credit, man.
That
sure. Big 3.
We went to 7 games, so I mean, as a being a Detroit fan, so we've had 4 Stanley Cups,
I got
one
to see
champs,
them go
one
to
championship.
4 games with the Spurs. Does that count?
Yeah. I mean,
Cavaliers said, we don't want to be here. Thanks. We made it 07. I'm out.
but you know, we've had success here in Detroit as well.
Oh,
on
yeah.
other franchises. But I've
Yeah.
told everybody, as soon as the Lions win the Super Bowl, because I don't know if you guys got a ritual where your team does for a championship, but I feel like Michigan's like one of those special places when a team wins. We got Gratiot Avenue, goes all the way out to Port Huron, which is the country part of Michigan. The city, it's like up north city, and then it goes out to straight out to the country after that. And then it goes from there all the way downtown Detroit. So,
our whole city, I guarantee you, the Monday following that Super Bowl, the city's gonna be like the city's gonna shut down, and that's not me being a smartass. This city will be shut down, and you will not see a single sports fan at a workplace.
I believe it, because
No chance.
That's how Detroit's going to be, because it don't matter what team wins the championship here.
Yep.
But after the championship's won, after the game is won, as soon as the game's done, everybody goes to Gratiot Avenue here in Detroit. And people are on the sidewalks walking around, drinking.
Euclid Avenue here, baby.
You have cars beeping. You have you have people in back of pickup trucks. Like like 2008 when the Red Wings won the cup. My grandpa usually puts we used to growing up, because my grandpa's had season tickets going on 32 years. I'm 31, so I turned 32, be 32 years.
Awesome.
So every time he used to put a fake Stanley Cup, we build it, we put it in front of his house, we put a sign saying "Hawk for Stanley." We would have people at 4 a.m. hawking the horns.
Oh, hell yeah.
So it got crazy. Like, we've been in the newspaper, in the news. So the last year they won, we actually took that thing and put it in the back of my grandma's pickup, Dodge Dakota. And then me and the one buddy that was with us watching the game, we sat in the back. And
awesome.
Then we had the red gold light, and we put it on top of the cup, and we plugged it into the inside the truck. And we were driving up in Gratiot with this fake Stanley Cup with a red light, cops that messing up with us. We had people jumping in our trucks to post pictures with it. People jumping on our bumpers, riding down the road with it. It was probably one of the best parties I've ever had. So just knowing like that's what we do, I cannot wait for that day to be out there for Lions. It could be a blizzard on Super Bowl Sunday and 12 degrees. But I bet you Gratiot Avenue would be packed from miles and miles of bumper traffic, and fans are going to be going crazy. And I can't wait for the day.
2016, man. That was a special year in the NBA for us, obviously. But my God, man, that night, I still remember crying so hard when the Cavaliers. Ironically enough, when Kyrie Irving buried that dagger, my heart stopped. We ran down the street. It was me, my brother-in-law at the time, and his father. So like my father-in-law. We were running down the freaking street screaming, "We are the freaking champions." And you heard honking, you heard cheers. There was nobody quiet on that block. And then, of course, you know all about the parade. Oh, my God, man. Yeah. There were a million people in Cleveland that day.
Oh, probably one of the coolest stories I have. And I know, guys, we're getting off subject, but we're going to get back on football. We're just telling little stories of what we got to experience. We haven't seen our football team experience that ultimate level. Probably the coolest things of 08 was, a little later in the summer, my grandpa's next door neighbor, I helped his son with his moon. He started like a moon bounce business. Nice. So I helped him deliver a couple moon bounces that day, and he's like, "How much I owe you?" And I was like, "Well, you and your dad are going to the Tigers game in the afternoon, right?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Well, just buy me $20 ticket, man. I don't even care if you can't get me close to you or if I gotta go sit by myself.
There you go.
I'm like, I want to go to the Tigers game. He's like, well, let me just check with my dad, make sure, because it's supposed to be just us. And I'm like, cool. His dad said he was cool with it, so we all went to the game. And we'll get that in 1 second, David. And so we go to this game, and after the game, we get on the shuttle bus to go back to the bar where we parked. And all of a sudden, this girl runs in, and she's just drenching.
Oh
and
my
I'm
gosh.
like, it's like 80 degrees out. Why are you soaked? And she's like, if you guys don't want to go back to the bar yet, just to let you guys know, all the Red Wings are at Chili's with the Stanley Cup.
Oh my gosh.
And it's right outside of Comerica Park at Choyo's downtown bar at the time. And we walk over there, and there's Lindstrom, McCarty, all the Red Wings on top of the roof just partying, and they're spraying champagne off the side of the building on the fans. You had Kurt Mumpy and Chris Draper with the cup on the stage, letting all the fans at the bar drink out of it and touch it. So I'm just standing there, and Lindstrom's looking right down at me. Nick Lindstrom's looking right down at me, and I'm like, Lindstrom. He's like, yeah, what's up, bud? I'm like, you're the fucking greatest. You're the greatest to ever play. And he goes, no, I'm not. And then Yuri Fisher. Unfortunately, he had to retire at this point because he had the heart attack on the bench. But he works in our front office. He was there with the players as well, partying.
That's
and
awesome.
he goes, you know what? You're absolutely right. He is the fucking greatest. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, hey. He goes, tell security I said you can come up and party with us. So I try to get it. I went up to security guy. I'm like, hey, Yuri Fisher just invited me up there. Can I get in? And they're like, unfortunately, no. And I'm like, hey, man, they won't let me in. You got to come get me. But, you know how that goes. He came and got me. Who knows? A bunch of people could have, at that point, tried to bull rush the doors. So I understood. But just to be able to talk to like one of your idols for like 2.5 seconds. Have him respond to you and look you dead in the eyes was like pretty sweet. But it's probably one of the coolest experiences I ever had in the city of Detroit. I've got to meet a lot of cool people like Gordie Howe, Ted Lindsay. They used to sign their books in the stadium a lot. So you could just walk up there and like wait patiently and have a conversation, shake their hands. You never had if you wanted their autograph, you're supposed to pay for the book. I never asked them out of respect because I wasn't going to buy. I didn't had the money at the times and buy the $75 book. But well, let's get back on.
Let's do it.
Football. So.
All right, now we can talk. Now we can talk expectations. Now, since we got the exciting parts of our city's franchises out, so we can talk football.
So David got a question for you. He wants to know, is Kareem Hunt back in Cleveland?
All right. So from what I've heard, the market is not what he was hoping for. I think he's not back in Cleveland yet. But if I'm not mistaken, I think the biggest problem now is Ford. If we didn't have Ford, who we're grooming to be the next backup, I think it would be a no-brainer that Kareem Hunt comes back. I would love to see Kareem Hunt back. His hands out of the backfield are amazing. And the dude has a fantastic running style. You name it.
I thought they had a good duo.
Yeah.
I just thought, they might, to make both players more happy, that they might, have to accommodate a little bit better of changing snaps, you know what I mean? If that makes sense.
I think the biggest problem is you have Nick Chubb, who is just an all-weather, crush your opponent running back.
Yeah.
Whereas Kareem Hunt has that feathery touch where you can throw it to him 2 yards past the line of scrimmage and he'll get you 8 more. Or you can run him out on a wheel or something to that effect. You get a finesse back versus a power back. And the problem is that Kareem Hunt wants those touches, which is fair because he is such a great dynamic back. But he reminds me of like Le'Veon Bell in Pittsburgh, where you're a great back, but the problem is you can't. When Nick Chubb touched the ball for us 20 times, we won in Cleveland. Like, you can look up the stats. I think we lost one game that he touched the ball 20 or more times, and that was a full-on meltdown by our defense.
Yeah.
Nick Chubb just runs the offense. Like, as a running team, we are better with Nick Chubb running the ball than we are a dual back field. Because if we put Kareem back there, they know to pack the box because Kareem's a slasher. He isn't the guy that's going to make 14. Like, he'll make a miss, but if you get a hold of him, he's down. You know what I mean? Whereas Nick Chubb, you can drag 5 people with him, and he'll be like, is this all you got? I know you got a linebacker back there somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's where it's just a matter of, yeah, you can preserve Nick Chubb, but at the expense of a sound strategy when you're benching Nick Chubb for the whole fourth quarter to get touches for Kareem Hunt.
Exactly. No, I definitely get that. And I also feel like this might play in Hunt's mind a little bit, is because let's be honest. Hunt was a great back for the KC Chiefs.
Oh, 100%. And he deserves to be a featured back on a team.
That's it. That's what
no doubt about it.
And
yeah.
Let's be honest. If he's still there, I still think he would hold the starting spot.
Yeah.
Hands down.
No doubt.
But after that incident and him getting, let go and get suspended and dealing with all the off of the field that came from that bullcrap that happened, regardless of the situation, is I feel like he's a lucky one that actually bounced back, because I thought, because it wasn't too long after the whole Ray Rice stuff that took place.
Well, you know where he's from, don't you?
I forget. I think I used to know where he's from.
He's from Willoughby,
okay.
Which is in Ohio.
That's right.
So Cleveland said, well, I mean, you're clearly a talented back, and I'm sure that some Ohio connections played into it.
Oh, for sure.
But for me, and I'm glad you brought that up, Kareem Hunt is one of those people where people hate how I initially reacted to Deshaun Watson, right? But I told him, I said, if you own it, make amends for it, I'm cool with you as a person. I want you to show me your character, then go out there and show me your talent. And I feel like Kareem Hunt there's absolutely not a single soul that should hold a damn thing against that dude. He's helped with the clinics around here. He's helped with crisis centers. He has put in the time. He has put in the effort. He put in the PR work. Anybody in their right minds should be calling Kareem Hunt's agent and saying, hey, what does he want? How do I get this man on my team?
That's why I'm surprised he's still a free agent, to be 100% honest, because it's like he had that one incident, which I think could have triggered anybody from the reports of what the woman said. Did he handle it? Did he handle it correctly? Obviously, no. But in that situation, it triggers you, and then you react. He reacted wrong, but since that incident, I haven't heard one word of peep
not a single incident
about anything going on.
There was one incident. I think it was like 6 to 8 months after that, where he was caught by a team representative. I can't remember exactly what. You can't quote me on this. But he was caught doing something stupid by a team representative, and the team representative threatened to actually bench him the season. And he looked at him, he's like, okay, wait. Okay, I fucked up, I know. And they're like, no, listen. Our team name attached to your back says we believe in you, that we support who you are, and that we acknowledge that you represent us as a player. You go do the stupid shit you did in Cleveland while you wear a Kansas City uniform, that's not my problem. But while you're in my colors, now it's my problem. If you want to have a problem, we can have a problem. If you don't, then let's nip it in the bud now. And not
Exactly.
once since has that problem.
And some players, you don't need that. David got another good answer. He wants to know which team you more concerned of facing this year, Pittsburgh or Cincinnati?
Oh, Cincy. This division is going to run through Cincy, unfortunately.
I have to agree with that.
I mean,
let's Joe Nixon gets himself in trouble because there's
Right.
some crazy reports on that guy.
But with Pittsburgh, I never if you're asking between those two teams, Cincinnati all day. But I'm not counting Pittsburgh out. The Wiley defenders, they're a good defense, period.
Oh, yeah.
And they will never not be good defense. Right. They will never not be a good defense. And as long as you have good defense, you're always in the games in this league.
Yeah.
But like you said, Pickett. And if George Pickens catches back up to if George Pickens becomes what I think he can, and their Freiermuth is a great tight end. They always have a decent line. I mean, if your quarterback can stay upright and hit the targets, man, this league is wide. This AFC North is now wide open for anybody. And it's probably going to run through Cincy if I had to guess.
Okay, so let's take a look and see what you guys did this offseason.
Heck yeah. So off the top, I'm not going to lie to you. Trading for Elijah Moore was fantastic.
Okay. So
I enjoyed that.
So here we go.
Oh, I'm so mad about losing Jacoby.
So you lost Jacoby. You lost Dorsett Johnson.
Johnson was unfortunate, but
Kevin Bryan linebacker. Tate
Yeah.
Davis.
I'm not upset about those. Yeah, Greedy gone.
And then you traded for, we already talked about Elijah Moore. And then you re-signed Ethan
Posich,
linebacker, Anthony Walker,
Sione Taki,
AJ Green.
Yep.
Wow, there's another AJ Green. I thought there was only one wide receiver.
No, AJ Green is a second-year player this year, actually.
Okay.
Or not second year. It'll be the second year with us.
And then the free agents you signed.
We brought Josh back.
Josh Dobbs, Marquise Goodwin.
Goodwin's going to be interesting this year to see.
You already touched on Jordan Akins.
Yep.
And then you got
Maurice
Hurst, Tyson Hill. Oh, I can never pronounce his name.
Okay, I looked this up. It's Oibo Okoronkwo.
And then Matthew Adams, and then Jordan
Knezic.
Which he's not a bad linebacker.
No.
And then you got Mike Ford, which I'm kind of bummed because he was one of the Lions undrafted free agents they signed in 2000, the first year Campbell was here.
Yeah.
And I really liked him. And then he left last year and he went to Atlanta. And then Atlanta let him go. And he ends up in Cleveland. And then
Juan Thornhill and Dalvin Tomlinson are huge pickup.
Your defense, I think this is probably going to be one of the best Cleveland teams on roster this season.
Yes.
I'm kind of anxious to see. I think your only question is, honestly, I hate to say this, I think the only question you guys really have on this team is Deshaun Watson. And only why I'm saying that is because of what makes me nervous is we've seen it with Bell. Bell set out that season and then came back and he was just never the same.
Correct.
So I'm just hoping for your sake that, we don't see the same thing happen with Watson.
Well, now here's my comfort. Jacoby Brissett is not known as a star-studded QB. He is not the greatest coming of anything. But I loved how he played last year. We improved the roster that he played so well with. Our defensive tackles outside of Myles Garrett were pathetic. Our safety, John Johnson III, I love the dude as a player, as a young captain, but he forgot how to football last year. He missed so many wide open, but the problem is we played him at strong safety instead of free safety. It's such a wild thing to imagine that one subtle position change would be so nightmarish for a player.
Yeah.
But we played him, we asked him to cover deep threats instead of do what he does best and handle the zone.
Exactly.
You can't.
I get exactly what you're saying, because like
yeah.
you take a player where you know he's good, and then you make him play a bunch of different.
Exactly. Well, that's why Jabril Peppers was so bad for us.
And I was shocked because he was a beast in Michigan.
Yes, he's a phenomenal linebacker. Then they moved him to safety and started him 100 yards back from the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
Let the dude hit somebody, for Christ's sake.
And the crazy thing is that kid can play every position on the field. Like,
and they still found a way to mismanage him.
Oh, he's actually with the is it the Giants now?
Yes. Yep.
And he actually had a pretty good year last year. So
I love Peppers. Dude's a boss.
I just think, see, that's my problem. Like, where I think a lot of Cleveland years that they've had good teams and it produce is it comes down to coaching and all the assistant coaches. Like, you guys got to have coaches that know what to do with players. And Peppers is one of those unique players. Like, you know, you could move him around. You can make him play linebacker. Shit, you can have him play halfback if you really wanted to.
Right.
He's fast too.
My biggest thing is this. When you have a player, and I'm going to go back a little bit, obviously, to Josh Cribbs. Josh Cribbs on that offense played wide receiver. He played quarterback. He played gadget running back. That dude, if he was lined up somewhere, you had to watch him at all times. Wildcat offense was so much fun to watch with Josh Cribbs.
Josh Cribbs was one of those dudes that you had in fantasy you picked up and you thought was like a bum.
Yep.
You're like, why did I pick this guy? And then all of a sudden this dude's balling out. Oh yeah, you're right. Peppers is actually with New England now. Thank you, David.
Oh,
I forgot he did move to a different team.
I think, but he was with them last year, correct? The Giants.
I think he was with the Giants last year. Maybe he went there to New England last year.
That's interesting.
I'm not 100% sure.
I try not to keep up with current. Yeah, I try to keep up with my current Browns versus.
I haven't really paid attention to New England since Brady left.
Truth.
Because I never really liked the Patriots. Like, a lot of my friends around here gave me shit. I mean, that's why I got the nickname the GOAT. When we start Renegades, Charles nicknamed me it because, because Brady was in the Super Bowl that year, and I was like, he's going to win. And then when he went to Tampa Bay the first year, you remember I called it.
Yep.
We all talked about it. First words of my mouth said Tampa Bay's going to win the Super Bowl. Bam, it happened. I've only followed him because he came from Michigan. I've only supported him in every Super Bowl because he came from Michigan. I've never been a fan of the team he's played
for. To be drafted where he was and take over the league the way he did, I can't stand him as a player because I'm programmed to hate greatness sometimes. But, I mean, what can you say other than the dude footballs like a god?
Yeah.
I'm not going to argue that shit.
So, like, do you think I think Myles Garrett is I'm like, he must really love the city. Yeah. Because with everything that's going on with like his career, he's been balling out, and he seems like he's happy to be where he's at, which that's really good for you guys.
Well, let's put it this way. There are 3 players on this team that if we lost one of them tomorrow, I would be straight up devastated. Denzel Ward, Myles Garrett, and Nick Chubb. I also love Donovan Peoples-Jones, like those four. But Myles Garrett, for him to have the giant heart that he does, and for him to be a phenomenal human being and as talented as he is, to love the city of Cleveland, it, in my humble opinion, it should make the league realize, like, okay, talent respects Cleveland. Why can't you?
It's all in culture, you know what I mean? Like
Yep.
let's be honest. Look at the Lions. You know, we've had that problem for years.
Yep.
We've had that problem for years of trying to get players here because of our history, because of what we're known to do. And it's played a factor now, like this year, like me and David were talking, you know, on the broadcast, is like now we're in the new year, like a whole new team, whole new culture, whole new identity at this point, that players are taking pay cuts to stay on this team. And before, we always had to overpay for a slightly good player.
Right.
We don't have to do that no more. We're
My
getting
God, we had to
players come here.
We had to poach players that kicked our ass. We had to pay a lot of money for players that kicked our ass to be mediocre on our team.
Exactly. Like,
I love Jamal Lewis, one of my favorite freaking running backs. That man was still a stud, but nowhere near the had back in the day. It was wild.
You know, we've all had it. I'm like, okay, instance, Dre Bly is back on the Lions as a coach now. But I remember being in like 7th grade, 6th grade, we signed Dre Bly, and my dad's like, oh yeah, man, he came from St. Louis. You know, when they won all the Super Bowls with their head coach, you know, the greatest show on turf. And I'm like, here, I'm a little kid, I'm excited. You know, all the adults are like, don't get too excited. We overpaid and he's washed up. And, you know, here I am in the 6th grade fighting with all these people. Like, are you really hating on this dude? Like, this dude's so good. Look what he's done to his whole career. And then as I got older, I look back at him, I'm like, we really did overpay for this guy. Yep. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm glad to have him as a coach. He was a great cornerback in the league. I feel like, you know, he has the ability to be a good coach.
Right.
But at the time when he was here, he was the star of the team at the time. Right. He got probably more stardom on our team than Joey Hirton did for being a starting quarterback. That's how bad he was. You know, and it was like, this dude just came here because no other team wanted him. Exactly. And if they did want him, it was for way less money. And he's like, you know what? I won a Super Bowl. Right. I'm just looking to cash out at this point.
Yep.
And, you know, and that's the sad part, is because we both seen our teams.
Yep.
I mean,
please come to us. Come to us, please.
You know, like Reggie Bush. Well, he's another one. Don't get me wrong, I was great to have Reggie Bush. He did have a couple solid years, and the Lions finally broke the curse and went to the playoffs for the first time with Reggie Bush.
Right.
But again, we overpaid for Reggie Bush in the shape he was. Bell became a security guard for the Lions at Ellen Park, tries out and becomes the starting back, and Bush becomes the change the pace back. Like, I'm crying out loud, but we're paying Bush millions. And we're paying this guy peanuts because he just came out of the guard shack and he's our new running back. You know?
But that's the way I feel this league goes. If you are a veteran that has a proven track record, you get the money.
Yeah.
But if you are a rookie that has the promise, you get the time.
That's and you have to, and it unfortunately has to be like that. I'm sorry, because how many big prospects that you're promised this, you're promised that, this kid can do this kid can do that. You see it in college, but then when they get in the pros, they don't come.
Oh my God.
because they
Don't
can't
even
pick
get
up. It
started.
happens every year. I mean, I could do a whole show probably for 24 hours on draft bust.
Yep.
There's been so many. And so I kind of understand the aspect in this industry, in this league. You're not going to get paid a lot of money. And to me is like, I look at anything. I was raised, by I have my grandfather, he's owned a business for over going on 40 something years, getting close to 50. And he's always made it first, like, to me, like, you want more money? You're not happy with your check? Do something about it.
Right.
Because I'm not giving it to you. You don't get paid just because you're related to me. You get paid on the work you put out on the field.
Exactly.
And it's like, and these things happen in real life. Like, I remember being in truck driving school, and kids the dudes I'm in school with are crying about the company we're about to go work for because what they pay. I'm like, dude, they're paying all of our schooling. You can't just walk into a career and think you're getting all this money. You got to earn that type of money. And, and then when you come in the NFL, it's just like a lot of these young players, they look at their name, they look at what they accomplished, but it's like, were you consistent though?
Right.
I mean, like, Patrick Mahomes got paid, not because he won a Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes got paid for what he did in all those years in his rookie deal and a Super Bowl. Let's be honest. He got that contract because he actually did it consistently, year in, year out. That's why I
like
feel
him or love him.
Exactly.
Like him or love him, that dude is a boss.
You can't deny it.
No.
I mean, like, you see him struggling. Like, you can see him play a shitty game for 3 quarters. And then in the fourth quarter, that dude reaches in his hat, and then bam, they win by a touchdown. And it's like
selective amnesia. It's like, hey, I threw 4 bad passes, but this 5th one's going to count for a touchdown. That dude could be 0 for 5, but that 6th pass is going to be a beauty.
Exactly. And it's like, that's what's one of the things why I don't like the Deshaun Watson trade. I don't like the money he got because I feel like this. I don't know. And the only why I say it is because I feel like Deshaun Watson is kind of like a spoiled baby a little bit.
Well, yeah.
Because he was like, well, Patrick Mahomes got that. Yeah, because Patrick Mahomes did something. And I'm not going to hold him accountable because that he didn't really do something, because I believe the Texans completely screwed themselves before he had the chance to screw it up. So I'm not going to sit there and label him as, well, your play is the reason why you're not worth the money.
Right.
But it's like, I feel like, he cried, he whined it like, I want this much money, I'm worth it. I can do what Patrick Mahomes does. And even though I think he's worth the money more than Lamar, because he's proven that he can stay healthy to set and play even when he's banged up at a high level, because we've seen him do that in Houston.
Right.
But it's like, dude, you kind of took advantage of the most weakest team. And I know David had a comment, and I meant to say this earlier. So, David, I'm bringing it up now. I'm going to go back to it. He said one of the reasons, it won't let me see the comments right now, but hang on, maybe I can see overview. No, but he said the reason why the Browns had to pay so much is because Deshaun Watson didn't want to go to Cleveland. So that's what made it convince them to come there.
No, I think what happened was, and there's 3 factors to that trade. 1, the Texans wanted more, period. So it came down to, I think it was Carolina, Atlanta, Cleveland, I think were the last 3 he was picking from or something. And I know he had to waive his no trade clause in order to do this.
Yeah.
I think, though, that Cleveland, honestly, Cleveland said, you know what? When's the last time we had a real amazing quarterback that we could say was a superstar. And you'd have to go back to Brian Sipe, or I mean, you have to go way back. I'm not saying Bernie
Well,
Kosar.
you did have
I
what's
like
his name,
Kosar.
Drake DeHome was it
Jake Delhomme, yeah.
Yeah, you did
But
have
Jake
him,
Delhomme was well past his prime, though.
but he did
We
win.
did the whole.
Or
We
no, he
did the
didn't win the Super
whole.
Bowl.
No, not with. Yeah,
He
won with.
went to
He
it like
went with
twice though.
Carolina.
Didn't he
went
go
with
twice
or
with
the
them?
Yeah, because even Jake Delhomme went with the Panthers. We had Matt Hasselbeck, who was with the Seahawks. We've had a lot of QBs that made it.
Yeah,
But for me, the thing that Watson probably looked at the rest of these teams, and this is me not being a homer whatsoever for a change. Carolina and Atlanta doesn't have what we have now or then.
yeah,
And if I'm going to a team that doesn't have a whole lot of promise, I better be making money. And I hate to say it because you don't want it to be about money, but if I'm going to a team, I better A, love the team and the fans and everything like that. B, they better be a phenomenal team who I can excel with and grow with. Or B or C, you better be paying me a lot of money to be there.
yeah.
And as a professional athlete he wasn't even sure he'd get a team. I mean, yeah, there were people lining up, but if any of those cases went through, if he had any more issues come through, that dude had his why not get paid? He
That is
was
true.
and the way he arranged the money, not to mention we did restructure his contract again this year, by the way,
Yeah,
to free up money. So obviously it wasn't. I think now he's kind of bought in a little more. I'll admit to that. I'll say that. But I
well,
think in the beginning
obviously,
it was
if he's giving some money back,
well, I think at this point it's more like, okay, wait. Cleveland put in the work to improve the defense. That was a problem last year. Got me some new weapons in Marquise Goodwin, Elijah Moore. All right. I will give a little back since you guys invested so much in me. Because investing in the defense and offensive weapons is absolutely investing in him. You can't invest in the line any better. Our line was top 3 all day.
yeah, you do. You got a solid old line.
So you can't ask for any more investment. The team on paper should easily be a 9 to 10 win team.
Yeah, I think you guys could. Worst case scenario, I see you guys for sure fighting for a wild card spot.
Right.
Especially if Watson comes back and he's back to full, on that same level.
I think with Watson, you get an upgrade in the level of fluidity. Like he can move like a boss.
And he's smart when he runs.
Exactly. He is a smart runner, and he's also not going to turn over the ball a lot, unbeknownst to his last couple starts, whatever. But he's a very smart player. And that's what, like, when you look at Tom Brady, his incompletions, half of those are probably intentional.
Yeah.
Because if my guy can't get it, I'm not going to risk you getting it.
And you save the clock.
Exactly.
David has another question.
What's up, David?
He said, did you see enough from Deshaun Watson at the end of last season to believe he's going to regain his Houston Texans form this year?
No, I did not. My biggest concern is that rust. I know he was knocking off rust, and I understand that completely. I'm not sitting here ready to burn him at the stake or nothing, whatever. I need to see more consistency from him in catching his receivers in stride. Having a full offseason and a full preseason and everything to go through everything, I expect him to take a huge step forward this year. Yeah. I understand he couldn't play with a lot of the teammates. He couldn't be in facility until the 11th week. Like, I'm not expecting him to come in here and look like Jacoby Brissett all year. But this year, I have much higher expectations of him as a player.
Yeah, that's why I felt like last year kind of set him up to fail.
Right.
He didn't play in 18 months or a whole year. And then you make him sit out another 11 games. And it's just like, yeah.
Well, I feel if the
Any
Browns were
case.
truly interested in making the postseason, they would have let Brissett play. Brissett
For
was
sure.
killing it. And instead they said, well, we got Deshaun. We need to see what he's made of. No, you don't.
Yeah.
They wanted to see Watson versus the Texans, which was a gimmick game. Let's be real. All of a sudden, oh, hey, you can come back on the 14th week. Oh, who are they playing? Oh, that's wild. Stop it.
They did that shit on
That was a
purpose.
setup.
Well, we got to
Oh,
have
well, we don't
national
want to
TV
give them
ratings.
that little bit of a suspension. No, let's give them 10 weeks. Such an arbitrary number, right? No. Oh, look, he's back for the Watson versus Texans game. Get the hell out of here.
They just
But
wanted
after
the views
that,
and the money.
absolutely. But after that, when you saw how Watson, if it were not for Donovan Peoples-Jones, we lose that Texans game. Jones had a punt return touchdown, a kickoff return touchdown, and then he caught a freaking touchdown pass. If Donovan Peoples doesn't exist, Watson is very sad going home that day.
Oh, for sure. Could you imagine going to a team that's probably 3 times worse than your team, your new team, and you go and lose after they just traded you, and then they're getting the last, and then they're laughing at you?
I couldn't even name their quarterback that was starting against us.
I don't even know who started for Houston.
Like, who the hell is that?
Oh, the only quarterback I knew they had on their team was Daniel Mills, I believe is his name. And the only why I know that is because all the memes about him.
Oh, I think Mills did start. Because I don't think he completed a pass for the first 12 throws or something.
Yeah. Because the only time I've ever really heard his name, it's like kind of messed up. The only way I've heard his name is from all the memes that have been shared in the group and stuff about him having a long. That's it.
Yep.
I think I've seen a meme with him and Daddy Longneck next to each other, and they're like, these guys must be related from the same family.
Yep.
But
that's so funny.
So, are you more excited this year? That is my question as a Browns fan. Like, are you going to this season one of the most excited you have been with this team?
With Bill Callahan coming in as our defensive coordinator, I truly feel like I have an actual defensive adult in the room. Someone who's like, okay, here's the deal. We have some great players. We have some great staff. Let's show them what we're made of. And I think he'll take great pride in this defense. And I think that if our offense can stay consistent like we have been, Watson takes a miniature step forward, and our defense gets to the level I believe it should be, I truly believe we'll be a 10-plus win team. And I haven't looked at the schedule per se very closely because any given Sunday, I know that. But I think this year, I definitely am going into it more excited than I have in a long time. And especially pairing somebody like Jadeveon Clowney was great, but he also came at a lot of emotional baggage. Juan Thornhill looks really excited to be here and take over as the safety for us. Dalvin Tomlinson and Ogabaji, what the hell, the fantastic youngster from Texas. Those three are have me and beyond excited.
As I say, yeah, I don't blame you. I can be honest. This is the first year with Detroit that I'm going into the season, and I'm like, my expectations are high.
Right.
But it's weird because normally I'm like fucking worried.
Well, but think about
nervous.
You and I both have the same concept this year. It's like, wait a minute. I am allowed to have an expectation of my team that they can go out there and hang with most teams in my conference right now. And that is such a refreshing feeling to say, you know what? We've got a team. We have a group of guys who can hang with the teams that I expect them to hang with.
Yeah. And that's where like I am at with the Lions right now. I'm finally at that point where I can go into this season very confident. I'm not nervous about it. I know we're the favorites, in the win the NFC
Yeah.
North. Um,
Well, your division is as open as ours is, because Rogers is gone. Kirk Cousins can't keep it consistent to save his life. The Bears, I mean, they might come for they might challenge if they actually stay healthy. But who's really going to challenge you in the NFC North if you guys keep performing the way you do? Gee.
I mean, I don't really see the North is somewhat open, but at the same time, I don't think it's as open as your division.
Oh, not in the slightest.
And only why I say that because the only two teams I think I can really put down the fight for
Minnesota
the
and you
North.
guys.
It's actually it's going. Actually, let's go with three teams. I'm not gonna lie. I think Detroit wins it.
Yeah.
But if Justin Fields makes the right steps coming into this season after they just loaded up on defense and got him another wideout, if he makes the next step, the Bears are definitely going to be there.
I mean, he's such a good quarterback, but that dude's legs, man, he looks like, and a lot of people will be upset hearing this, but he looks like Michael Vick.
That's the
Michael
problem.
Vick in Atlanta.
But that's where it's bad. Because let's be honest, Michael Vick wasn't the best quarterback in Atlanta. Was he the best running QB in Atlanta? Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But what happened in all those years in the playoffs with them in Atlanta? He was a vegetable by the time he made the first round.
Yep.
I remember watching him play Green Bay in the first round with the broken ribs, and he got his ass kicked. He couldn't do nothing.
Yep.
The best Michael Vick was post-prison Michael Vick with the
Philly.
Eagles and Andy Reid, because he learned how to run the ball when he had to, and he learned to trust his arm throwing bombs on the field. And I believe that's where Justin Fields has to get to. He has to be able to get confident enough this year to throw the ball. If he's going to run the ball like he did this past year and run more than he throws, I'm sorry. He's just having a Lamar Jackson that's not going to win you. That's not going to take you far in the postseason. And he's going to be banged up. I'm sorry. A lot of people want to say he's a good quarterback. I really don't think so. I just read a good article and it makes sense. It said, think about this. Is it Baltimore not wanting to pay him the money, or does Baltimore really know he's not worth the money? Because they're like, look at their offense and look how much they run the ball. It's like perfect. And it's not guaranteed truth to this either. I could be wrong. And if, he goes to another team and I'm wrong, I'll admit I'm wrong. But what they said is, what they're saying is Baltimore built their offense for Lamar to be successful in. If that's the case, you want $230 million, like, I'm not trying to pay for a quarterback that's going to run for 1,000 yards and be a vegetable by time real games really count.
I think what hurt him the most was Huntley being so good. His backup came in and did the same things he did with more passing. Now,
my bad, David. I thought Vic lost that game. Correction, Vic did beat Green Bay.
Right.
I thought it was the other way around.
But Huntley being so good in Baltimore made it more plausible for them to say, look, we set our QBs up to succeed. Without our system, I don't think you're as good as you are.
And it got some old truth. I mean, look at Joe Flacco.
Yep.
They won a Super Bowl, that guy.
Yep.
And then his play went. He was never back to that
Well,
level.
he got
and
older.
He left, and
he
he
got
never
older.
went nowhere else. But even when he left, and he still had some good years left, he didn't produce too much after he left. I mean, he went to the Broncos after Baltimore, was it? And I didn't think he was that bad, like that old at that point.
Broncos, and then I think he went to the Jets. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's still with the Jets.
Yeah.
But what I mean? It's like, that's my thing with Justin. Like, I'm not saying he's not a good quarterback by any means. It's just you got to stop running the ball. You can't. You got to be like Jalen Hurts.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
God.
If you're like Jalen Hurts that can beat you with the throw the ball and run the ball, you're going to succeed. But until you can do that, you ain't going to succeed even as a running QB.
I truly feel that if Mahomes had the speed of Jackson or Hurts, I don't think that Mahomes would throw nearly as much as he does. If Mahomes had the running ability of the other two, I think he'd be even more deadly.
Oh, for sure.
But he has the speed of Tom Brady as opposed to the rest of them. But the dude can elude with the best of them. That dude literally is like a freaking eel in the water. It's wild.
You know what it is? It's because if you notice like pay attention next time you're watching the KC game.
Yeah.
Watch how he like jogs off the field into up to the huddle and stuff. If you really notice, he's really light on his feet. He has the ability to keep his toes down, his heel up, and he can move real fast. It's almost like a linebacker backpedaling or a safety. But instead he does it forward. And it makes and I feel like that's why he kills so much people backfield and getting out of sacks because he's always on his toes and he can just move at will, in which the other players got their full feet planted to the turf. And it's harder for them to adjust to get his little ass.
Yes.
So I mean, that's where I feel like he's dominant over the other two quarterbacks. He don't have to run. He just has to make a couple short moves in the backfield, and then he's going to launch that bitch 60 yards on the field and then laugh at you because you couldn't catch him.
Correct.
So we got another question for you.
Yo.
Cleveland has 8 draft picks. However, your first pick isn't until 11th selection in the 3rd round. What positions would you like to see your team draft or concentrate on the draft?
That's a great question. Honestly, I could use another linebacker. Give me a high-end like a high-pick linebacker that we can cultivate. And then give me a little more offensive line depth. Get me a guy that can slot amongst any spot that can defend solidly. Like I want somebody who I plug into the line and is hungry to stop that team from getting to my QB. Other than that, I think we addressed the defensive tackle spot. I mean, with Greg Newsome III and Ward patrolling the backfield, Juan Thornhill at safety, Sione Takitaki still at safety. I don't see another glaring hole other than some linebacker and a little bit of depth on the offensive line. I really don't.
I feel like the same with you with the Lions right now because we did everything. We've done so much moves in the offseason to set our defense up. I really, at this point, I think this draft is going to be good. And I think this draft is going to be for players for depth, but the future players that take over some of these players we sign here in a couple of years.
Well, I think what a lot of people don't realize is that good players fall in the draft because, like when you're rebuilding teams, you need offensive line, quarterback, running back, or defensive tackles. Those 4 spots are your biggest concerns when building a team. If you have those, suddenly you can go chase after better and other different skill positions. You can't. That's why, like, someone like the Eagles can get an amazing running back or an amazing wide receiver falls into the lap of a team, and you're just like, how did he make it that far? Well, the first 12 teams had to draft 4 quarterbacks, 3 running backs, 2 tight ends, and a freaking superstar defensive tackle because none of these players have defense rules the early draft. Offense rules the early draft. 9 times out of 10, you're going to see offense picked earlier than defense unless it is a guaranteed no shot, no doubt about it, an Aiden Hutchinson or a Watt brother or a Myles Garrett or something like that. You have to be special in order to be picked early for a defense.
Oh, for sure. Like the Jalen Carter situation. I want to see it playing out. I'll be honest. There's some sources. There's a heavy sources that he's supposed to meet with the Lions. I think today. Matter of fact.
Nice.
I really don't. I hope we don't get him.
Right.
But we've had some players that have had some issues. And since it came to Detroit with the culture change and our coaches, you ever heard of Pete? It's been all nothing but positive because where they're at and which the part of the franchises. So I mean, it leads me to believe if we do draft Jalen Carter, I think it'd be all right because he'd be surrounded with a bunch of positive role models.
Right.
But my thing is, I just don't like it that how his pro day went. And I understand he's stressed out, but you gained 9 pounds, bro.
Right.
Like 9 pounds. And you couldn't finish your drills. I mean, I get it. 9 pounds is not 2 pounds. But to me, it's like, dude, you've been playing football for your whole life, man. There should have been no reason. Like, I could see you being tired by the end of it. I'm not saying you don't have a right to be tired about at the end of your pro day, but you were so wore out that you couldn't even finish your pro day.
Well, but my thing is this too. If I'm an executive from a team, scout or otherwise looking, you're not in football shape right now.
Yeah.
And my biggest thing is your ass can be kicked in conditioning. How do I expect you to handle conditioning and drills for my football team when you can't handle this exhibition type stuff for pro day?
Yeah.
We don't beat your ass. We just expect you to show off key skills to your position.
My
You
thing
can't
too,
do that.
My thing too is this: is like, I get it. What you went through is stressful. You lost 2 friends.
Yeah.
And you were a part of it. You were scared you were going to go to jail too. I understand that.
Yeah.
But there's still no excuse. I mean, what have you been doing? Just sitting in your house being all depressed and binge eating?
Right.
Like, you would think he would want to go to the gym.
Right.
And, just focus and get it and do positive things to keep his mind right. And that's what makes me nervous. I mean, by draft time, he could lose them 9 pounds. By training camp and all that, he could be in a better place. But it's hard with the draft. That's why as being a fan, I have no reason not to trust Holmes.
Right.
Every draft pick, every signing he's made has been good. It hasn't broke the bank. So at this point, if that's the guy they think they need to get, and they can make something out of him. And
Barry, we trust, man. That's all I got to say. Barry has not led me wrong yet. I completely agree with your words. It's one of those things where I can have my opinions, but this dude has built a franchise I can be proud of. You do you. Have fun.
Exactly. And that's the thing. And that's like the most crazy thing about being fans of the teams we're fans of, because this is all fucking new to us.
Brand new territory.
Like
I trust the idiot running my team. Wait a minute.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, I see we signed somebody, like free agency first started. I'm like, okay, I get the notification. All right, go share on fourth and goal pages, the group and all that.
Yeah.
So as I'm sharing, I'm like nervous to see exactly who it is.
Exactly.
And then I'm realizing, I'm like, holy shit, I didn't even see this. I didn't even see this coming. Like the Lions
because you temper your expectations so bad because it's like if I set my bar low enough, they'll trip over it from time to time. Exactly. Now it's like shit, wait, they can limbo. Hold up.
Like I need to raise my expectations now.
Exactly. I can raise the bar and they don't need a shovel to meet it. Time out.
And they're like they just did this with Marvin. They just brought Marvin Jones Jr. back. one of our better receivers. And everybody's like, why did we sign him? Simple. This is how you win Super Bowls.
Yep.
Because you got to have depth players.
Yep.
And you got them for $3 million, not breaking the bank.
Nope.
1-year deal.
Yep.
Guess what? J-Mo's starting over him. Reynolds is probably going to start over him. St. Brown's for sure going to start over
Brown. Yeah.
But now, what happens if it's week 17 and St. Brown's like, it's not going to wood, but somebody sprains an ankle and he's going to be 50%. Here's Marvin Jones Jr.
Tired. Or
Exactly.
even just tired. Let the man, 17 games, people are like, oh, it's one extra game. That is 60 more minutes of grueling, violent body abuse. If I can give my wide receiver or my running back a day off and not lose a full level of talent, where I don't have to draw a name out of a hat and hope that this player knows how to play the game, Marvin Harrison is an absolute steal at $3 million. Not so much because of his talent, but the dude knows how to catch a football. He proved it in Atlanta. He proved it in a couple different places. And now he's back and he's like, okay, you know what? I liked it here. He's here for a reason.
Yeah.
You don't return to a team that you don't like.
Which I'm actually surprised. Well, he loved Detroit, but Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell didn't let him walk because, we were doing the rebuild.
Right.
We weren't paying nobody. That's the only right reason he left, and then he went from here to Jacksonville for 2 years. And I'm surprised Jacksonville let him go.
Right.
Because I thought that was a good, veteran presence for them. And I think it had to do a lot to do with it because, I actually went to the game where we kicked their ass in Ford Field. And after that game, I seen the post-game interview, and just to hear Marvin Jones and, the reporters were trying to stir some stuff up. You know how that goes.
Of course.
And he's like, no, man, I love Detroit. He goes, I didn't want to leave. He's like, but, it's business and sometimes you got to. He goes, but he goes, but I always love coming back here regardless if I'm on another team. He goes, it's great to see old friends and being the old home, and so you could tell he still had passion for the city. And to me, it's like, this is a move to show you that the Lions are not just going for the division. They're not just going for the playoffs. Right. But they're really trying to get Martha a Super Bowl before she passes. And they're going for it. And I think I'm not going to sit here and say we can win, but if we play how we finished last year, week in, week out for the next 17 weeks coming up in this up season with the additions we've added this year, we could get there. Not saying it's going to go there, but we could get there.
I got to get going here soon, but I will make a very bold prediction right now. Mark it. In the next 5 years, we're going to see either Detroit or Cleveland in a Super Bowl. Mark my words.
I think you're right.
I think that they finally punch through. I would love to see them play each other. We better meet up there when they do.
That would be so awesome.
Yes, it would.
Cleveland Lions Super Bowl.
Yes.
Just because they're so rich of a history in 1950s of Detroit and Cleveland battling out, which I think we won more than you guys, but then you guys took off after we fell off. Or no, wait a minute. Yeah, you took off because I think we beat you.
We owned the 60s and 70s, I think.
Yeah, because
then the 80s we started to fall off a little.
1957 was our last championship.
Yeah.
And we won 3. And I want to say they weren't all back to back. I know 2 were though. I think.
I remember we took 8 of them. Like we had a ton.
Yeah, because actually you're the reason why we have they said the Bobby Lane curse.
Yep.
Because Bobby Lane was our quarterback. He won 3 championships for us. And he was the god of Detroit. He ran with the Lions. But his problem was he was an alcoholic.
Yep.
And he was getting DUIs.
As was Bernie.
I think he got in trouble for beating his wife.
Yeah.
He did a bunch of dumb shit that the Lions put up with for a lot of those years when I was reading up. And
Yep.
then after 1957, the following year, I think he got a DUI again. And the Lions are like, you know what? We have
That's
another
enough.
quarterback that can take over. And we weren't a shit team yet for a while
No.
after that. I think we went to a couple of championships against you and Bobby, and you guys actually took over the series at that point and beat us and then went on your run. But Bobby Lane, as we traded him to the Browns, said that you would never win another championship for another 50 years for trading me.
Yeah.
So that's how we got the Bobby Lane curse. Like, our team's been in the same position, and ain't it crazy? It started almost around the same damn time too.
You know what though?
And it had involved our former quarterback.
I think that's why you and I especially, we can appreciate the talent around the league because we're the kind of player, like we're the kind of fans that have to go, yeah, great regular season. Okay, who's my postseason picks? Because we had to have our team and then a postseason team.
Yeah, like,
and it's not fair weather fandom. It's I know damn well my squad ain't going.
I mean, to me, it's like if you don't pick a team to root for in the playoffs,
what's the point in watching?
Exactly. That's my point.
I need to have a dog in the fight to be interested.
And honestly, what I usually do when the Lions are not in the playoffs, I don't pick just one team. I'm like, okay, I wouldn't mind seeing this team on the NFC.
Right.
And I wouldn't mind seeing this team on the AFC.
Exactly.
And that's what I go for. And honestly, that way, at the end of the day, I'm not rooting for no one. I just prefer, like, okay, this is what I wanted to see in the Super Bowl.
Although I will say, after watching Jalen Hurts play the first couple games, I jumped on that freaking bandwagon so hard.
I love Jalen Hurts because,
oh my God, man.
Super Bowl, I'm not big in betting. I've never been big in gambling. Like, when I go to Vegas, I love going to Vegas, and it blows people's minds. Because they're like, why do you go to Vegas? You don't fucking gamble. So you know why I go to Vegas? It's because I'll take $5 or $10. I'll put it in the slot. I get my 2 beers, get the waitress, cash out my motherfucking money, and I just hang out with everybody else, drink my beer, have a great time. And when I need more beer, I take the same $10, put it in another machine, get my 2 free beers, take my money right back out. And don't get me wrong, I'll gamble in Vegas, but way less than your average Joe who goes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I think I went for a week and I might have gambled maybe $300 out of the $3,000 I took with me.
That's awesome.
And half of the people would came home with no money, but I came home with like $2,000 still left in a week in Vegas. And I drank for free.
There you go.
So the Super Bowl came, and my sister and brother-in-law come over, and they're like, we're betting. So they're on their phones, they're betting. And I'm like, all right, I'm betting. So I seen this parlay. I built this parlay. Jalen Hurts needed a rushing touchdown in the second half. Kelsey needed a touchdown any point of the game. Brown needed a touchdown in the first half of the game. And KC had to win by the spread.
Okay.
So, also in the first half goes, Kelsey scores a touchdown. Bam, check. Brown catches a touchdown. Boom, check. Now I got to have Jalen Hurts get in there and score a rushing touchdown. And now this what makes me nervous is because the motherfucker had 2 in the first half. No, I know that.
He had 3.
I know that, but in the first half he had 2.
Yeah.
So
they looked unstoppable.
So I look at my sister and brother-in-law, and I'm like, dude, I'm fucked. This dude got 2 rushing touchdowns. There's no way in hell he's getting 3. Motherfucker gets 3.
Yep.
I'm like, oh my God. If KC wins, and then this is the bad part because at this point, I'm like, Hurts deserves this.
Right.
But I had to go with KC to eat because they had 4 points, thank God. So I'm like, okay, they got it set up where they can lose by 3. So if you win this Philly, you got to win by 3. Can't win by 5, got to win by 3. And so then it plays out and wins. So at $5, I bet it turned into $198.
There you go.
I had my first parlay, and I was like,
I will say this, though. I believe, as good as Mahomes was, I believe that this was the first case where I was disappointed in the losing team not getting the MVP.
yes.
I think, and this is a fan of neither team. I respect Mahomes. I respect Hurts. I truly believe that if you're going to base the MVP on individual performance, there's no way you can't give that game ball to Jalen Hurts. I think the committee dropped the ball.
Because how I look at it is you can, like you said, it's one player's play. It ain't winning the game or who has to win the Super Bowl. It's based on one player's play. Even you lost the Super Bowl, that one player could outplay anybody on the field. And I would have to say it was Jalen Hurts.
My thing is this. The way that I would determine the MVP is if I remove that individual from the game, what does the game look like?
Yeah. You know who's really good for the most time? I mean, now they're kind of biased and bullshit with the Heisman. But back in the day, I felt like college football,
very good.
They were pretty good. Like
yes.
When I moved to Tennessee, because a lot of people don't know this, but I got 2 homes. I call it 2 homes. My main home is Michigan, born and raised. But for 3.5 years, I did move to this place called Tellico Plains, Tennessee. If you ever want to take your family on vacation and go to where no one's around and have a skyway up to the mountains with beach waterfalls, you can swim in the river anywhere you want, and then you're only like 2 hours from Pigeon Forge to Gatlinburg. So
I do know Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg.
So you can still take a day trip up there. Not have to stay up there and pay all that crazy money to be around millions of people or thousands of people at a time. You can drive back the 2 hours to peace and quiet and enjoy your vacation.
That's awesome.
And there's so much stuff to do there for free. One of the best places I live, like you went to our high school football stadium, sat in the bleachers, you could view the whole city from the top of the hill, pretty much.
That's
all around you was just mountains. That's it.
That's amazing.
I mean, there wasn't even the biggest city was an hour and a half or about an hour away to Knoxville.
That's awesome.
So I moved down there. As soon as everybody finds out, like teachers find out from Michigan, it all starts. They're basically telling me, fuck Michigan, fuck you. And I'm like, why you got against me in my college? And they're like, Peyton Manning should have won that Heisman. I'm like, okay. So you're mad because one of our best players, productive players ever to come out of University of Michigan, Charles Woodson.
Yeah.
Ohio native. We turned him. We turned him. He never lost to Ohio either, which is great. I know.
No, just the rest of his freaking franchise for the last 12 years.
But he I'm like, and you're just mad because he broke the barrier and became the first defense player to ever win that reward.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, Pete, you should have had it. He had all this. And I was like, bro, I'm not denying he should have had it. But I'm like, when you have a cornerback / safety / running back / receiver, but no one will throw him the ball that way because he's catching everything. Like, you could go to that one play in that season and tell me he did not deserve it. You could look it up on YouTube tonight after this show and type in and look up the interception. I forget what name it would be under. You probably would have to type in Charles Woodson intercepts the ball going out of bounds. It'll pop up. It was against Michigan. It was against Michigan State.
Okay.
The quarterback literally throws the ball away. And I mean, he throws the ball way high. This is the first ball thrown in Woodson's direction all game. Woodson runs up there, jumps up one-handed, snags it out of the air, which he literally left his feet probably a good 5 to 6 feet.
Fantastic.
And still manages to come down and get his feet down before he falls out of bounds. And it was like the Michigan State quarterback did kind of like one of these, like, how? How? I threw the ball.
He had to
like,
blink, rub his eyes real quick.
And
who gave that man springs in his shoes?
You could probably find it if you type in Woodson's interception in college.
I'll probably just type in Charles. I'll probably just type in Charles Woodson versus Michigan State. I'll find it pretty easy.
Yeah, it should pop up really easy. But it was just like, I sat there and I'm like, if you watch that replay, so I got my teacher to play it. And I was like, now talk shit. Because guess what? I'm like, you have to give credit. I understand. I would have been pissed too.
Oh yeah, Peyton Manning is one of the greats of all time.
That didn't get the Heisman over him, But at the same time, it's like, you got to give respect. And I felt like college for a long time was good with that. The voting was legit. Now I think it's kind of stupid because, to me, even though Blake Corum got hurt this year at the end of the season, he should have won the Heisman.
Well,
there wasn't one better player than what he produced at Michigan this year. And that wasn't me just being a homer either.
But there's a lot. But the thing is, the biggest issue is a lot of people. And I don't think there's been a major injury that went down that won the Heisman.
Yeah.
Injury essentially has disqualified everybody. And it sucks. But it's one of those things where it's like part of the Heisman, I feel, is they're like, hey, we need you out on the field making a difference. And I think that's where injury comes into play. The guy's phenomenal. I won't say that against no problem. But availability is the best ability sometimes.
Yeah, and I understand that, but I felt like this was that one time,
right?
They could be fair and break a cycle because to me, now I understand. Don't get it twisted. Now, say now next year Heisman comes out for this player and he's projected because he did so good last year. Now if he gets hurt week 2 and 3 and he's done for the year, and say he has 6 touchdowns within the first 3 games. Now, okay, that no brainer. He's not going to win Heisman this year.
Right.
You know what I mean? I want to bitch about something like that. But when the dude's literally still leading all the categories and he gets hurt at the last couple of games of the year, but he's still leading all the rushing, categories. Right. And to me, that's he should have still been in the real discussion for the Heisman.
I mean, he still might have been. I think he was still top 3.
He was top 3. It's just, I'm like, did he really drop? Because the 2 players above him are not even capable. Their numbers are not even close to his. But, like you said, it because he was hurt.
Right.
It's just
and the biggest problem is, if your guy's going up against mine, let's just say it was Stroud versus, we just said his name. And Stroud got hurt, but was putting up the same numbers. I would have to say, I'm like, well, you know what? I can't say that Stroud would continue to put up the same numbers.
Yeah. No,
I get that. Yeah. You have to go off of the actual full sample size.
Yeah.
And does it suck? Yes.
I get that, but you can make the argument for Michigan that no one would stop Blake Corum because no one has for 2 years. And now no one's going to for the 3rd year. Because now he's pissed and coming back. Which I'm really surprised because I think he wasted a payday.
Yeah, no kidding.
I think he would have been the top 3 pick.
Well, hey, brother, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Exactly. I was just about to tell you.
Anytime you want to, if you want me back, just let me know.
Oh, for sure. I'll definitely have you back on. Since we probably did you pre-game, maybe after the draft. If not, during the season for sure.
Sounds fantastic, brother.
I'm excited to everybody.
I'm excited that this exists, man. It's honored to be on your show. Good luck to the rest of the guests, and I'll be tuning in whenever I can.
All right. Thank you, Robert. Thank you for joining me tonight. You have a good one.
It's all mine. You too, man.
You too, bub. Everybody else, it's been a pleasure. But we're going to end it tonight. Thank you guys for tuning in. Remember, we'll be back here Sunday with Dave for Spectacular Sunday. So we'll see you again. Thank you guys for turning in to the 4th and Goal
Peace.
broadcast. Later, bud. Later,
Later.
guys.